It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. You walk into the Monday meeting like a citizen entering a small court. The table is a throne room in disguise. Laptops for shields, coffee for ceremony, minutes for law, smiles drift like banners. Someone praises the team before proposing a tiny pivot that moves resources from your project to theirs. Laughter softens the theft. Nods seal it. You feel the ground slide half an inch and tell yourself it's nothing, just cooperation. At home, dinner plates clink like coins. A relative compliments your patience and then asks for a little help with paperwork you will end up owning for months. In the group chat, a friend writes, "Only if it's no trouble," which quietly means, make it your trouble. This is the principality you live in daily. No crowns, no trumpets, only influence wrapped in manners. The quiet manipulator thrives here because you underestimate what looks small. They keep their heads slightly bowed, voice smooth, eyes warm. They underplay ambition the way a fisherman lets the line sink. You see humility, they see tension. They say, "I might be wrong, but," and then place their solution in the center of the room like a gift. They offer help first, "I took care of the intro email," and attach a thread to your ankle you don't feel until you try to walk elsewhere. They practice deference as camouflage. "You're so good at this," they say, when what they mean is, "I want you to carry it." Their courtesy disarms your suspicion before any transaction begins. Detection fails because you reward niceness without asking its price. We are taught to treat compliments as invoices already paid. We are taught to take smooth tone as proof of pure motive. The quiet manipulator knows this. They keep records when you do not. They count favors as a banker counts interest. They trade in the currency of kindness because it is unregulated. No receipts, no audits, only stories that sound generous. When you finally sense the pattern, you doubt yourself first, because doubting them would require you to admit you have been buying an illusion. Your desire to be good is their map. You want to be likable, so you become predictable. You say yes quickly to show you are easy, then resent slowly to prove you have a soul. You avoid conflict to protect peace, then lose peace to 100 soft concessions. No worry if not. You type, then worry and do it anyway. The quiet manipulator studies these habits the way a general studies terrain. They know you will not risk seeming unkind in public, so they ask in public. They know you fear disappointing the group, so they invoke the group. They know you prize fairness, so they present their gain as a moral duty. It would mean a lot to everyone. Consider the small scripts. The colleague who always checks in right before deadlines, turning your urgency into their leverage. The partner who apologizes in a way that makes you console them for hurting you. The manager who entrusts you with critical tasks that never lead to promotion, only dependence. None of this is loud. That is the point. Loud power alarms the room. Quiet power grows in the shade. You are not asked to become cruel, you are asked to become clear. The realist's first move is to name what is happening without moral fog. Kindness is a currency. You choose its exchange rate. You can still be warm and still charge a price. You can still be helpful and still require balance. A principality without borders invites raids. Draw a line, speak in invoices, not apologies. Happy to help. Here's what I need in return. Watch how the tone around you changes when your generosity stops being free. In this small court, love is rarely pure, and fear is rarely open. Influence travels by rumor, by charm, by the quiet hand that moves chairs before the meeting starts. See the hand, see your own. Decide what it will hold and what it will never hold again. Be kind, but keep your coins. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. You were promised a gentle world where love crowns effort and loyalty is its own reward. But in the small courts you move through, meetings, kitchens, group chats, people buy outcomes. They purchase safety, advantage, and status, and the currency is access to you, your time, your skills, your calm under pressure. Love is packaging, utility is the product. When someone says you're a lifesaver, they are naming the service you provided, not the soul you possess. A boss who believes in you, believes first that you will deliver what shields their position. A partner who calls you my rock often means you absorb weather they cannot stand in. A friend who praises your reliability is purchasing response time. None of this is cruel. It is simply how power moves when it wants to look kind. Shift your evaluation from intention to outcome. After each sweet phrase, ask what changed in the real world. Did the compliment lighten your load, or did it quietly add to it? Did the apology restore your power to choose, or did it recruit you for another round of caretaking? Track the cost that love talk hides: evening hours surrendered, emotional labor quietly expected, silence demanded so someone else can appear peaceful. Look at calendars, not captions. Look at decisions, not declarations. Modern life is a market, and the best sellers wrap transactions in sentiment. You are not required to hate the wrapping. You are required to read the receipt. Now, the benevolent trap. It never begins with robbery. It begins with a ribboned favor. Don't worry, I scheduled the meeting so you can focus. Lovely, until you notice who sits at the table and who does not. Let me talk to the landlord. I'm good with this stuff. Comforting, until the contract changes and you learn about it after the ink dries. I booked the flights to simplify things. Thoughtful, until the itinerary locks you into commitments you never approved. Helpful people sometimes help themselves to the steering wheel under the cover of kindness. They give you comfort while they keep control. The mechanics are methodical. First, they locate a friction you avoid: confrontation, bureaucracy, logistics. Second, they volunteer to absorb it with a smile, because gratitude is armor. Third, they centralize information inside that friction: who is invited, what is promised, which options remain. Fourth, they convene decisions at times and in formats that favor their priorities, claiming urgency or efficiency. Fifth, they harvest public gratitude to inoculate themselves against questions. They've done so much, don't make this hard. Nothing looks hostile. Everything looks helpful. But dependence grows the way ivy grows. Slowly, silently, and then all at once across your windows. You can test for the trap with simple instruments. Separate favors from decisions. Say thank you for handling the vendor. We'll decide the budget Friday with the full team. Watch who resists transparency. Rotate recurring tasks that govern power. Calendar control, travel booking, agenda setting. If one person clutches them for efficiency, name the risk and reassign. Keep receipts, not as weapons but as weights that balance the scales. Who promised what, by when, for whom. The benevolent trap cannot survive daylight and rotation. It thrives only when kindness is used as a key to a locked room. Now, the politics of image. In a principality, reputation is a bond that pays interest. Labels: reliable, selfless, team player, trade like notes on an open exchange. People invest in their storefronts. Quick replies, public gratitude, visible gestures at the right hour. Meanwhile, the workshop behind the shop, the quiet ledger of kept agreements and shared costs, stays unseen. Most observers are hurried. They buy the display. Appearances are not lies. They are narrow truths. Rapid emails prove alertness, not integrity. Charity photos prove presence, not sacrifice. Remembered birthdays prove memory, not loyalty under pressure. Yet reputations built from these flashes can purchase real power because most buyers will not inspect the back room. Learn to price the picture. Track the exchange rate of praise. Ask who is praising whom and what transaction traveled beside the compliment. Did what a team player arrive the same week you covered someone else's deadline? Did she so dependable appear right before a risky client landed on your desk? Praise can be a receipt for value already extracted, or an investment meant to shape your future behavior. When a flattering label lands on you, check whether it describes your character or directs your labor. Then answer in policy, not performance. Clarify terms. Set scope, schedule review. Do not despise image. Build your own bond deliberately. Choose 2 traits to broadcast through action. Perhaps fair and decisive. Fairness means you share credit in public, document agreements, and refuse to let guilt replace terms. Decisive means you state timelines, say no cleanly, and hold scope. Repeat the signals until they become your rating in the market of influence. The quiet manipulator prefers fog. Give them weather they cannot fly and clear rules, written choices, consistent consequence. When your image is grounded in visible rules, other people's stories about you become less profitable to trade. Here is the spell, and here is how to break it. Affection can be sincere and strategic at once. People hug with one arm and guard their interests with the other. You can do the same without losing your humanity. Measure what is bought when you arrive. Detect favors that come with strings, and cut the strings before you accept the bow. Read reputations as bonds with yields and maturities, and choose whether to invest. Replace wishful stories with working contracts. Let your heart stay warm and your ledger stay open. Count the cost, read the label, choose the terms. You think you are choosing, but your wounds choose first. You learned early that safety arrived when you were agreeable. A quiet room required a quiet child. So you became the diplomat at the table. You read faces like weather, guessed storms before they formed, and offered sunshine in advance. That script kept you safe then, but scripts do not retire. They follow you, now at work and at home. You repeat the same scene on a brighter stage. The quiet manipulator only has to whisper the old cue. You're so helpful, I just need a little thing. You're the sensible one, and your body reaches for the same line, be good to be safe. The story is not that you are weak. The story is that you were trained. The line you rehearsed still earns applause, but the audience has changed. Some people appreciate your kindness, others harvest it. They notice how quickly you rush to fix tension, so they produce tension in small, marketable doses. They praise you for being calm, then sell you every emergency. They make a ceremony of your reliability, knowing you will save face for the group even as they spend your time in private. They do not need to threaten. They only need to ring the bell you were taught to obey. See the pattern in small moments. A colleague sighs, I'm bad with admin, and you hear a bell from childhood. Step in, be good, stop the discomfort. A partner says, I can't handle this right now, and you retreat, carrying both sides of the discussion like furniture up the stairs. A friend texts, only if it isn't a hassle, and you reply, no hassle at all, because hassle is your private tax, paid in silence. You are not deciding. You are repeating. The lines are older than the room you stand in. The quiet manipulator knows it, and turns your kindness into a lever. Childhood scripts turn adult deals into predictable contracts. They study your act like a director. They learn the exact pause that makes you fill the silence. They learn the compliment that unlocks your extra hour. They learn the sigh that makes you volunteer. Once they know your cues, they can place their needs on your stage and watch you stage manage their success. No shouting, no threats, only choreography you mastered long ago, performed now for a different court that pays in favors and access. They test gently at first, a small boundary push disguised as efficiency. I scheduled the meeting for you. Relief comes. Later you notice who was invited and who wasn't. A favor coated with guilt. I hate to ask. You're just so good at this. Decline and you feel cruel. Accept and you purchase another request. The urgent one last time. We just need you to cover this week. Weeks multiply. One last time is the password to a tunnel that rarely has an exit sign. These probes are not accidents. They are measurements of your price. Watch your tells. Do you answer quickly to kill anxiety? They time their asks for when speed makes scrutiny impossible. Do you apologize before there is harm? They let you own the harm. Do you fear silence after saying no? They wait, knowing you will fill the space with a yes. These are not villains in capes. They are ordinary citizens of the court who understand leverage. Your wound, fear of rejection, fear of conflict, hunger for approval, prints a map they can read at a glance. Your predictability is their road. Make the map visible to yourself. Write your recurring cues on paper. Praise, urgency, public request, sad face, no worries if not. Next to each, note your automatic move. Volunteer, switch to cheerful, promise extra, then design a counterline. When praise arrives, thank you. What's the scope and timeline? When urgency arrives, I can help by X, not by Y. When the request comes in public, let's discuss details offline. I'll confirm by email. Rehearse the counterlines like drills. You trained your reflex in childhood. You can train a new one for your principality now. Understand the economics beneath the drama. Self-respect is a scarce resource. Every time you spend it to avoid discomfort, someone else buys an option on your future. An option is the right, not the guarantee, but the right to call on your labor at a price they set. The more you prepay with guilt, the cheaper their option becomes. A teen learns that a sigh purchases your evening. A family learns that a frown purchases your apology. A partner learns that tears purchase silence on subjects that matter to you. You are not just tired, you are over-leveraged. Reprice everything. Start with the cost of saying yes. It is not free. Yes costs focus, energy, credibility, and sometimes the chance to do the work that advances your life. Price the delay in your own goals each time you rescue someone else's. Then price the cost of saying no. It is not catastrophic. No costs a moment of discomfort, a possible rumor, the friction of someone adjusting. Compare the two like a treasure of a small state, which you are. Most days, the budget demands a stronger currency than approval. Consider 3 scenes. First, the workplace. A manager thanks you publicly and adds, "Could you handle the client notes again? Last time you did it and missed strategy time." This time you reply, "Happy to rotate. I did notes last week. Priya can take this round. I'll lead the analysis." You will feel the old tremor. Breathe. The tremor is the price stabilizing. Second, the home. A sibling says, "You're the responsible one. Can you talk to mom about money?" You answer, "Yes." If we meet Sunday and you draft the plan with me, responsibility becomes a shared ledger. Third, the friend group. Someone writes, "Only if it's no trouble about a ride to the airport at 5 a.m. You say, "That time doesn't work. I can help the night before or cover your ride share." You remain generous. You refuse to be free. Expect pushback when options become expensive. Flattery will sharpen with urgency. Sadness will sharpen with blame. You may hear, "You've changed," meaning my option is expiring. Let it expire. Contracts without consent are thefts in polite handwriting. If they threaten reputation, people will think you're selfish. Answer with consistency. Keep promises you make. Decline promises you did not. Over time, the market remembers who deals in real terms, and even the quiet manipulator learns that your border is not a suggestion. Do not moralize your past. You were not foolish for wanting peace. You were faithful to a method that once protected you. Honor that, then retire the method with ceremony. You write it a farewell. "Thank you for getting me here. I will govern differently now." You are building a principality of one with borders, tariffs, and treaties. You can be warm at the gate and firm at the wall. You can let people in and send them home at closing. Kindness stays, the price changes. There is a shadow in you, the one that fears being unloved if you refuse. Meet it like a negotiator you respect. Ask, "What do you need to feel safe while I say no?" Maybe you need a written script. Maybe a friend on standby after the conversation. Maybe practice in the mirror. Give the shadow tools, not the steering wheel. Do not demand fearlessness. Demand protocol. Power grows from repeatable steps, not from sudden courage. When you do this work, something subtle changes in the room. Requests shrink to their real size. Emergencies slow to the speed of truth. People who valued you for access drift away. People who value you for judgment draw close. You become legible to yourself. You do not wait for the cue. You write it. The wound still speaks, but it no longer votes in every decision. You choose the terms, and your life begins to pay you back. Honor your wounds, but price your yes. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can feel. The moment arrives without music, an email, a casual remark, a calendar change that explains everything in one cold sweep. Your breath stalls, the room tilts half a degree, and then keeps tilting as old scenes fall into a new order. Their praise now reads like payment for silence. Their just one more favor reveals its profit. A dozen small concessions line up like soldiers, and you finally see the banner they served. It is not yours. Your stomach drops the way a lift drops when the cable snaps. Sudden, exact anger follows, sharp and white. Shame rushes after it, red and heavy. You want to call it a misunderstanding. You want to believe this is a bad day, but the pattern is not a day, it is a plan. You replay the early kindness that first drew you in. The lunches, the gratitude, the public nods that warmed your face. In slow motion, you watch their hand move a chair closer to the head of the table for convenience, and you watch your own hand pick up the leftover work to help. 1,000 small edits to the truth. You told yourself that goodwill would compound into fairness. It compounded into access to you. The evidence is sterile, and that is why it hurts. There is no villain speech, only timestamps, task lists, and smiling photos where you are holding the heavy end. Inside, a revolt starts. One voice says, "Be kind." Another says, "Be fair." A third voice, small but fierce, says, "I was used." You try to braid them, you cannot. The braid breaks and your values whip your mind like cords. You believe that people would return your good intent with equal measure. Now you have data, and the data refuses your faith. Cognitive dissonance is not a theory in this moment. It is heat behind your eyes, a pressure in your teeth, a headache shaped like a crown that no longer fits. You are tempted to turn away to sew the old story back together with excuses. They were stressed. The timing was bad, I should have explained. But your body knows before your mouth admits it. Explanation is not constitution. You feel an urge to torch the field. Send the message, slam the door, post the truth. Another urge begs for retreat. Swallow it, maintain peace, keep being the good one. Both impulses are a trap. Rage burns your leverage. Denial sells it at a discount. You stand in the hallway of yourself, between the throne room and the exit, and realize you have been a subject in a soft monarchy. Policy was unwritten, but everyone knew who benefited. The crown was a halo of politeness. You kept it polished. You called this harmony. Call it what it was, a system. The shock is proof your senses still work. Let it do its full work. Name the motives as they are, not as you wish them to be. He praised you to keep you predictable. She apologized to reset the cycle. They used urgency to compress your choices. None of this means they are demons. It means they are human, and you gave them instruments you did not know you were giving. The pain is not a punishment for being good. It is the invoice for running on faith instead of terms. Pay it once, by seeing clearly, and you will stop paying it forever. Now the revolt tightens into purpose. Your values do not die here. They change rank. Kindness moves from commander to advisor. Fairness remains, but it stops floating and takes a seat at a desk with ledgers. Loyalty stays, but its oath is to principles, not to moods. You recognize the palace coup, not against them, against the story that ruled you. That story promised safety if you kept everyone comfortable. It delivered exhaustion and a reputation for availability. The new order reads differently. Safety by borders, respect by clarity, peace by predictable enforcement. You feel cruel for thinking in these terms. That feeling is part of the old spell. Keep reading. What falls apart now deserves to. Consider your constitution. The one you carried inside without a single page. It had noble clauses and fatal loopholes. Be kind was absolute, but be compensated was optional. Be fair was sacred, but be firm was advisory. Keep the peace was law, but defend the borders was implied. Of course, the principality cracked under pressure. Soft law invites hard lessons. The collapse is not your failure. It is your audit. The roof caves because the beams were decorative. The rain shows you which rooms were never waterproof. Draft a firmer constitution. Begin with rights. You will no longer trade. Your time is finite. Your focus has value. Your no is legitimate. Add duties to match. Reply within reason, not within panic. Set scope before labor. Document agreements while everyone is friendly. Establish processes. Decisions made in daylight. Rotations for power tasks. Consequences that are calm, consistent, and public enough to be remembered. This is not pettiness. This is engineering. Good structures free warm hearts to act without fear of collapse. Your identity breaks in pieces because it was built like stained glass, beautiful, brittle, too dependent on light from others. The shattering is violent, but it yields raw material for a better window. You gather what is still true, you care for people, you work hard, you keep your word. You discard what is not, you absorb the cost, you forgive in advance, you accept the blame to soften the room. Then you rebuild with steel in the seams, kindness now welded to boundaries, fairness bolted to evidence, loyalty anchored to mutual risk. Look at modern scenes through your new lens. In the office, the team lead assigns you just the notes again. You feel the old nod rising like a tide. Instead, you say, "I did notes last sprint. I'll own the summary decisions this time." LA can take notes. If someone calls you difficult, you point to the rotation policy and keep breathing. At home, a partner says, "Can you handle the finances? You're better at it." You answer, "Only if we meet weekly and decide together, otherwise we split tasks." The old image of being the rock fades. The new image is a bridge with tolls and schedules. Among friends, someone asks for a big favor in the group chat. You move the request to a private channel, set terms, and decline if those terms aren't met. You are not colder, you are clearer. Grief will arrive for the self you are leaving. Let it in. Mourn the hours lost to other people's storms. Mourn the praise that was counterfeit, even if the giver didn't know it. Mourn how good it felt to be needed. Then close the ceremony. Power hates a vacuum. Fill it with policy. Write the sentence you will say when your pulse spikes. "I want to help and I need X to do that." Practice it until your mouth can carry it through heat. Build a small council, 2 people who respect your borders, and consult them before you sign new obligations. Replace the panic of being disliked with the pride of being legible. In time, the court will adjust. Some will leave. Let them. They were tenants who never intended to pay. Others will test you. Charge them the new rate. A few will stand straighter. They were waiting for someone to name the terms. You will feel lighter, not because life is easier, but because the weight you carry is chosen. That is the quiet prize of collapse well used. Not armor but architecture. You survived the fall, now build the state. Grieve the old crown, write the new law. A prince must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. You spent years calling it love, friendship, loyalty. You wrapped hard transactions in soft words because softness felt noble. Look closely at the pattern. What you called love often sheltered someone from weather they refused to face. What you called friendship often lifted someone to status they could not reach alone. What you called loyalty often moved risk from their life onto your back. It was not romance, it was logistics with flowers on top. Move from emotions to contracts. Translate warm language into terms a treasurer would respect. Loyalty means a recurring commitment. Hours, reputation, access, paid on a timetable. Support means you absorb cost when plans fail. Care means maintenance work, reminders, favors, conflict smoothing, invisible labor that keeps other people's lives running. None of this is dirty. It is simply real. For each relationship, ask 3 questions. What costs do you bear? What benefits do you receive? And which direction does risk travel? Then ask whether the contract is written anywhere that both sides can see. If it is not, expect drift toward the side that benefits from silence. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. The heart still matters, but the heart needs a budget. If someone calls you my rock, ask, for which storms, under what conditions, and for how long? If a manager says, we're a family, ask, what are the severance terms for this family? If a friend praises your big heart, ask, which responsibilities has that praise quietly assigned me? Translate applause into numbers, hours, and decisions. Only then will you know whether the music carries you or drowns you. Open the ledger you never kept. History is not a poem. It is a table with columns: who paid, who gained, who decided. Begin with one project at work. You covered 2 late nights, drafted the plan, handled the client call. Who was promoted? Who announced the win in public? Who assigned the next stretch task? If your name disappears at the moment of reward and reappears at the moment of labor, the ledger speaks. Move to the home. You handled the bills because you're good at details, managed the emails, and soothed every conflict. Who chose the vacations, the purchases, the guests? If decisions flowed one way while labor flowed the other, the ledger speaks again. Create a checklist for reinterpretation. First, trace decision points. Who set agendas, times, and options? Power hides in calendars and invitations. Second, separate words from transfers. What actually moved? Cash, labor, access, credit, reputation. Third, test reversibility. Could you say no without penalty? If refusal triggered guilt storms or quiet hints that you were selfish, you are paying an informal tax. Fourth, measure symmetry. When they needed help, you ran. When you needed help, did they run, or did they offer advice while you kept carrying weight? With the ledger open, you will see that many acts of love were risk transfers. They feared conflict. You handled it. They feared uncertainty. You guaranteed it. They feared unpopularity. You took it. This is not a command to hate them. It is an invitation to price the exchange honestly. When you price it, you regain choice. You can still carry weight for someone you cherish, but you will do it with eyes open and terms set, not as tribute disguised as tenderness. Choose dignity over drama. Seeing the deal does not require sneering at love. It requires setting a price. Keep caring and stop being cheap. Quote terms before you lift a finger. Happy to help for 2 hours on Thursday. After that, you'll need to hire support. Make reciprocity explicit. I can cover the meeting if you take next week's prep. Name the scope with clean edges. Yes to the ride, no to the packing. Yes to the drop-off. Drama loves fog. Dignity loves daylight. Where there is daylight, there is memory, and where there is memory, there is accountability. When pushback comes, and it will, do not explain your soul, explain your policy. People debate feelings. They adjust to rules. I'm not available without notice is stronger than I feel overwhelmed. We rotate these tasks monthly is stronger than. It doesn't feel fair. Calm rules end noisy disputes. If someone accuses you of being transactional, accept the word without shame. Transactions are how bridges stand and ships sail. Pretending there is no transaction only serves the person who profits from your confusion. Test the reframe in 3 scenes. Work, your boss says. Can you stay late? It would mean a lot, you reply. I can tonight if we move Friday's deadline and log the hours. Otherwise, I'll deliver at 9 tomorrow. Home, a partner says. You're better with parents. Can you call my dad? You answer. Yes. If we agree on the message and you handle the follow-up visit, friends. Someone texts, emergency. Can I crash? You respond, one night works. After that, I'll help you find a place. You remain human. You become legible. As you practice, some relationships will cool, let them. They were powered by your discount rate, others will warm in a steadier way because mutual respect is a clean fire. You will notice that your time buys better outcomes when spent on people who pay their side without being asked. You will replace the myth of unconditional everything with the truth of well-structured care. Love is not less sacred for having edges. Boundaries hold the water so the garden can grow. Here is the reframe in one clean line. It was never love in the way you told it. It was often shelter-seeking, status-seeking, or risk transfer. That truth is not a doorway to bitterness. It is an invitation to adulthood. Choose contracts that honor your skill, protect your peace, and still leave room for grace. Speak plainly, write terms, keep records, reward reciprocity. And when love appears in its rare, generous form, the kind that shares risk, shares cost, and shares decision, meet it with a clear yes and an open hand. Care deeply, charge fairly, choose consciously. Power begins where your leaks end. You do not need to become cruel to become strong. You need to become sealed. Think of yourself as a small state with borders and laws. Your enemies are not people. Your enemies are leverage points, rushed timelines, vague promises, public pressure, and your own need to be liked. Plug the leaks, and half the battles never start. This is power hygiene, boundaries, silence, timing. It is the armor you wear under ordinary clothes. It is how you meet the shadow in you, the part that fears saying no, and train it to serve your rule, not sabotage it. Start with boundaries. A boundary is not anger, it is a line on a map. When someone asks, "Can you jump on a quick call?" Answer with pace control. Send the agenda. I'll get back to you at 2. You have denied nothing. You have denied their timetable. Most manipulation relies on speed. Slowness is your gate. Use written confirmation like walls. To confirm, I'll deliver X by Friday if you provide Y by tomorrow. Walls do not shout. They stand. If the other side resists writing, they are telling you that confusion profits them. Stay with the wall. Repeat. Put it in writing. If they still refuse, your answer is automatic. No agreement without clarity. Small tests before big concessions. This saves you from theaters where the ending was already cast. When asked for a favor, offer a narrow version first. I can help for 30 minutes. Send details now. Observe whether the scope explodes, whether gratitude appears, whether responsibility rotates. If the test fails, the larger deal would have failed with higher cost. In hiring, in friendship, in family routines, Create trials that reveal patterns early. A reliable person gets stronger when tested. A user grows impatient. Patience is their bait. Impatience is their tell. Silence is not weakness, it is weather control. When someone drops an urgent, we need an answer now. Step into silence and let the heat fall. Say, I'll respond at 4. Put your phone away. The first storm will pass. The second usually never arrives. In negotiation, do not fill pauses with discounts. Say your terms and let the air hold them. People bargain against your fear of emptiness. Train your fear to sit. The state that masters tempo wins without drawing swords. Now build a useful reputation. Image is not vanity, it is public policy. Choose 2 traits and patrol them like borders. Let us choose fair and decisive. Fair means you measure by rules, not moods. You share credit in public, you correct errors in private with receipts, and you refuse to let guilt rewrite agreements. Decisive means you set deadlines, you close loops, and your no does not wobble. Announce these standards by action first, then by short sentences others can quote. We rotate work. I give clear yes or no. We decide with data in daylight. Defend this image publicly, not with speeches, but with rituals. When a win comes, name every contributor, including those who did unglamorous work. When a miss comes, publish what you learned and what you will change. If someone tries to trade on your name without doing the work, detach calmly, this was not my decision. Do not let sweetness bribe you into silence. Your reputation is a bond. If you let others counterfeit it, the market will punish you later. Keep your bond funded with consistent behavior. Make exploitation expensive. People exploit what looks free. Price your access with predictable requirements. Require agendas for meetings, shared documents for decisions, rotations for recurring chores. Put these prices where everyone can see them. A predator hates the light. A partner appreciates the map. Over time, your predictability becomes deterrence. People who would have tried soft pressure will go elsewhere. People who want clarity will come to you first, because clarity shortens pain. Tell your story before others do. In a small court, vacuum is slander's homeland. After you make a strong move, declining extra unpaid work, enforcing a rotation, expect whispers. Answer by narrating policy, not feelings. We instituted rotations last quarter to spread load. I require written scope to protect timelines. The audience is not the accuser. It is everyone watching to see if rules have teeth. Show teeth without bite marks. The rumor dies when it can neither shame nor scare you. Now alliances and deterrence. Do not build coalitions from warmth alone. Warmth melts under pressure. Align incentives. Find the people whose goals overlap yours. Builders who want clean process. Leaders who want predictable delivery. Colleagues who benefit when credit is accurate. Start small. A shared document where you all record decisions. A weekly sync where you standardize how work gets handed off. A pact that none of you accept last-minute scope without a change in deadline or resources. Put these in writing and keep them boring. Boring is power's favorite suit. Make the costs of betrayal visible and reasonable. You do not need threats. You need consequences that happen automatically. If someone violates a rotation, the next cycle will still move forward without their preferences at the top. If someone withholds information, decisions pause until it is shared. If someone takes credit, you publish the contributors list. No anger, no theater, just the machine doing what it was built to do. A well-built machine deters rebellion because rebellion yields no special reward. Choose your allies with care. The loudest critics of manipulation sometimes become new manipulators when they see a ladder. Watch how a person treats those below them when they believe no one smart is watching. If kindness only flows upward, they are buying patronage, not justice. Prefer allies who enforce rules. Even when rules hurt their momentary gain, they may be less charming, they are more sovereign. In family and friendships, coalition looks humbler. Agreements about holiday labor, chores with schedules, rules about asks in group chats, shared budgets with visibility. You will be told you are making life too formal. Smile, form abolishes chaos. Adults sign treaties. Children make promises and forget. If someone refuses all structure and demands all access, you have learned what you need. Their interest is your weakness. Do not join their alliance. Make your border clear and offer trade at fair prices. Practice tactical generosity. Give more than expected on your terms at your time, with clear limits. This confuses the exploiters and strengthens your allies. It says, I am not stingy. I am sovereign. Cover an extra shift and log it publicly. Mentor a junior and publish a plan for rotating mentorship. Bring food to the meeting you called early. Generosity framed by rules creates loyalty without creating dependency. It also builds the legend you want: fair, decisive, unexpectedly kind. Prepare for tests. After you enforce a boundary, someone will press harder to see if you meant it. Expect the escalation and pre-write your answer. As stated, I'm not available without scope. We can proceed when all stakeholders are present. Repeat it like a spell. Do not argue about emotion while you are setting law. The palace always resists new rules. Then it learns to breathe under them. Finally, meet your shadow. The part of you that fears being harsh. The part that loves applause. The part that thinks strength will make you lonely. Give it a desk, not a throne. Let it advise when mercy is wise. Let it warn you when your pride wants a fight you do not need. But do not let it make law. Law is made by the ruler who understands that peace grows from order. Keep the heart warm and the hand steady. You are not becoming a tyrant. You are becoming a governor of a life worth protecting. Boundaries, silence, timing, reputation as public policy. Alliance is anchored in aligned incentives. Deterrence that is calm and remembered. This is disciplined, ethical cunning, the kind that lets good people stay good without being devoured. Be clear, be fair, be formidable. Peace is not kept by chance. It is kept by rules you are willing to enforce. Peace is not a mood. Peace is a policy. You create it the way a city creates quiet streets, with signs, with schedules, with predictable fines. You decide that your life will run on clear asks, clear no's and clean exits. You ask plainly, what do you want, by when, and what will you trade? You say no without apology and yes with terms. You end what does not work with dignity. No smoke, no rumor, just a final statement and a door that closes once. Strength does not make you hard. It makes you simple. People can trust you because your answer is consistent. That is the ground of kindness. Not softness, but order. Write your rules where you can see them. I do not answer urgent messages that arrive without warning. I rotate chores and power tasks. I confirm the scope before I begin. I do favors that fit inside defined hours. Then keep these rules when it rains. The test of a constitution is not fair weather. It is the storm. When guilt knocks, let your rules answer. When pressure crowds your timeline, let your policy set the pace. Each time you follow your law, your nervous system learns peace is possible because it is protected. You stop bargaining with anxiety and start governing it. Now watch the quiet manipulator lose interest. Their tactics depend on speed, fog, and your need to please. You remove all three, you slow the clock. I'll respond at 2, you clear the air. Put it in writing. You make pleasing optional. That doesn't work for me. Here are the options. Their leverage gets expensive. The guilt invoice is returned unpaid. The public asks to move to a private channel. The one last time meets a calendar and a price. It becomes boring to try you because games require surprise, and you keep replacing surprise with procedure. See it in small scenes. At work, someone tries the last-minute handoff. You reply, happy to take this next week. Today's capacity is full. The handoff either shrivels or is properly traded. At home, a relative pushes for help, wrapped in flattery. You say, thanks for the compliment. I can do 30 minutes Saturday. After that, you'll need outside support. They learn the new math. In friendships, a chronic favor asker texts at midnight. You answer at 9, with boundaries and options. The pattern changes because the price changed. Kindness gets cleaner here, not colder. Rather than rescuing people from the consequences of their habits, you invite them into shared order. You share templates, not burdens. You teach timelines instead of absorbing chaos. You reward advance notice and honest negotiation. This is how peace multiplies, not by you carrying the world, but by you modeling how the world can carry itself. Your steadiness turns noise into signal. The right people step closer because the air around you is breathable. Picture the final image, a principality of one. Your name on your gates, your laws inside. Not iron spikes, good signage. Not a moat, clear bridges with weight limits posted. Your mornings are a parade of small chosen tasks. Your afternoons are guarded by 2 sentences you repeat. What are the terms, and what happens if not? Your evenings belong to you again. You sleep without composing angry replies in your head, because there is nothing to avenge. The law already spoke. There will still be conflict, but it will be brief and useful. A rule is questioned. You restate it, you adjust if facts demand, and you move on. You do not recruit allies for every boundary. The boundary holds by itself. You do not explain your soul, you explain your policy. You will be called firm by the people who used to call you kind. Accept the promotion. Firmness is a kind-grown adult. It gives people a fair chance to succeed with you and a fair exit if they will not. This is your closing treaty with yourself. Choose peace and choose what peace requires. Order, clarity, consequence. Do it without cruelty. Do it without apology. Let your life become the quiet street where good work gets done and good love can stay. Calm law, warm heart, steady hand.